When setting up my brand in Mailchimp, it was my first time in here, so I kind of stumbled a little bit trying to figure out where it was. And then eventually I went over to the left-hand side and found it under there. Again, it took me a little while to figure out where it was. But after I found it, I was able to put in my logo and set up the colors that I needed. The only issue I had was with the font. I couldn't figure out how to change the font, which I think might have been because I was on the free trial, but I feel like when I'm on a free trial, I want to be able to experience everything. I could upload a font, but I was a little surprised that I couldn't just search for like a Google font or something like that. But overall, it gave me the basics, so I thought MailChimp was fine after I found it. I was able to put in everything I needed. The next one was with Kit, which was a little bit easier to find. I assumed it was under settings, so I went under there. And I still had the same problem with the fonts. I could not find a place to put any of my fonts in here. And then after Googling, I feel like I can do it once you're in the emails and actually building stuff. But as far as setting it up universally, I couldn't figure it out or find a way to put in the fonts. Flodesk was absolutely the most easiest. It was right where I thought it would be under the settings. There was even just a drop down that actually said branding, so I didn't have to look around and try to guess. And then everything is right there. You have your logo, your brand colors, you can upload your brand fonts if you want to use them, and then even the social links are there along the bottom. So it was much easier to set up. It required less thinking. I didn't have to Google anything and it was all right there. So Flodesk is definitely the winner as far as setting up your brand. The next thing I wanted to try was creating an email. So I went into MailChimp first, very easy. Create an email was right at the top. They gave me some options as far as how I wanted to create my email. And then I wanted to check out the different templates they have for emails, but I found a lot of them said upgrade to use, which was kind of throwing me off. Again, I'm on the free trial, but I still wanted to be able to experience everything. And then there wasn't a filter to select like free or anything like that. So I looked around a little bit to try to figure it out. But after a little bit, I started looking and decided I would try the basic layouts, thinking those were maybe the free ones. So they did have a lot of different ones that were laid out nicely. Again, a lot of these said upgrade to use. So after I realized I was too far on the page, I scrolled back up and some of the free ones I could apply. So I did pick one of those. Again, the layouts were perfectly fine for what I needed as far as a basic email. And then everything else was pretty simple to use. I could tell I could just add in different sections and different content. So as far as a basic email setup, I thought that MailChimp was pretty sufficient. You just can't do anything too fancy. So then the next thing I went into was trying to build an email in Kit, which was probably the most confusing, but I think it was because they use the word broadcast. So I started to try to find a library of email templates and I was looking around and I couldn't really find anything that looked super nice like I wanted. They have a lot of basic ones, but I found I was having a hard time kind of stumbling around trying to find a template. I also couldn't figure out how to change the footer because it looked like a lot of stuff was already embedded in there, which I think is part of the template. After a while of kind of moving around in here, I did find email templates at the very top, which gave me an option of a library that had way better templates to start with. At first, again, it was a little stumbly because I got into this weird email template section, but somehow I stumbled along this template library, which gave me the ability to find some really nice free free templates to start with. And then once I was able to start with one and get into the builder, I found that it was pretty easy to customize any fonts or anything. It did take me a minute to figure out how to actually use the template. But then I figured if I hover over certain sections, it shows a plus sign and I'm able to add different things. So all in all, ConvertKit was fine. It was just a little difficult to figure out how to start building the email template. Obviously, Flodesk is so easy. It was so much easier. You just create a template. They have all of these beautiful ones that you can start with. So once you find one, you can go in, see what it looks like, and then you can customize it. And very similar to Kit, if you hover over the different sections, you can add different layouts and different sections that you need. And it is very easy to just update, text, copy, switch out images, everything like that. And I do feel like their templates and their sections are far superior to the others. They just make things look so much nicer and it's so much easier to update. So Flodesk is for sure the winner on the email templates. The last thing I tested was forms. So forms are so important for our website. So I tried to go into Mailchimp and create a form, which again was super easy to do. It has all of the basic fields that you need. So if you just needed to create a quick form, it's definitely very easy, but it lacks a lot of customization, which requires a lot of code. So that makes it really difficult if you're somebody who doesn't know how to code, because you can see there's a lot on here. So you can see the font is black, the button is black, and there really isn't anywhere to change any of this. So I kind of clicked around trying to figure out where I could change colors and fonts, but I really couldn't find a place for it. And in my experience as a website designer, I have noticed that Mailchimp requires a lot of code once you put the form on your website. So it doesn't exactly look native to your site. As far as the code itself, embedding it is super simple. It gives you a code that you can embed right on your site. So you can just copy it real quick and then embed it in. But as you'll see, it is a little ugly. So it's very white without any code. So that's kind of the downside if you're not a website designer. Then when we jump into Kit, again, very simple to pick the form that you want and to customize it. You can customize the forms. And in Kit, you can change the color of the subscribe button. You can set up the different settings. They have a lot of different settings that you can change. So you can change the colors, add your fields that you want, move them around. And also another advantage with Kit is their dashboard on the homepage. You can see clearly how your form is doing, which I really liked. I actually started with Kit before I started paying for an email marketing system, and it was totally fine for putting it on my website and collecting emails. In the beginning, you can see they have a bunch of different options here. And then again, it's very similar as far as embedding the code onto your site. One thing that I did stumble on is I didn't hit publish when I was doing this and testing it. So when I put the code in, it looked strange, like it just didn't have any forms. So when I previewed it, I tried to figure out what was happening, what was going on. And then after a little bit, I realized that I probably had to hit publish. So that was my problem with Kit. But overall, if you're looking to just start building your email list, Kit is fine. But again, you do need code and CSS to put on your site in order to change the font with Kit. So that kind of goes back to the branding too. So then you can see as I hit publish, the form then will show clearly the first name, last name, and it does look nice. It has the transparent background, so it blends in with your site. You would just need the code to change the font. So then once you're in Flodesk, they have a bunch of different forms to choose from as well. They pop right up the segment that you want to use. So basically it's saying when somebody fills out this form, what segment should they be assigned to? You can customize the form 100%. You can clean it up, make it very basic so it looks native on your website, which is definitely something I love as a website designer. You can change the fonts, the form fields, the colors, everything you can do right within Flodesk. So that is a huge advantage and something that I love about Flodesk is just being able to customize things. And it's all right there. I feel like it's all very easy to find. You're not searching around for things. And then also it gives you the option for the thank you message, which Kit also has as well, but I feel like it's a little more difficult to find. The only tricky thing with Flodesk, if you don't know, it says inline, it has a bunch of different codes here. So if you just pasted one code, it's not going to show. So one thing you just have to know is you have to paste both codes, the header code and the inline code. So I guess that's the only tricky thing about Flodesk, but otherwise it looks really great on your site. The other tricky thing about Flodesk is resizing the form. So when you are in Show It, for example, you have to move it around a lot, preview it, take a look, see how it looks, and kind of adjust things from there. And for me personally, I always have an issue trying to figure out the alignment, because if the form is too small, it center aligns everything. So as you see, it looks great right here. Everything's lined up, left aligned, it looks perfect. But then when I preview it and scroll down, it is centered, which drives me crazy. So again, I think you need some code to fix that, but overall, Flodesk is definitely the best as far as forms and how they look on your site.